Is there concern in Kansas City that this offense just isn't what it needs to be to whether win this week and win the next week and then win the week after that? Or do you think all around they just make up for it with defense and every other part of their game?
There's concern, there's heartbreak, there's paranoia. There's all kinds of it, right? But the thing that everybody keeps forgetting is, yes, offense used to be here and it's fallen off a little bit. Well, the defense has done the opposite.
Buffalo Plus, your interactive look at the week in football, brought to you by Connors and Ferris.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Buffalo Plus podcast and YouTube channel presented by Connors and Ferris. I'm Mike Catalano. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Hey, come on. We know what this week is. It's Bills and Chiefs in the divisional round of the playoffs. And we are very fortunate to have with us somebody who knows this Kansas City Chiefs team so well, Ryan Tracy from the Locked On Chiefs podcast. Ryan, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me. It's a fun week this time of year, right? And maybe we'll be a little bit warmer even.
Yeah, right. Than what both of us have experienced. And certainly for the Chiefs, crazy game. Bills dealing with all that snow, but it's looking pretty good for the weather, at least in terms of what it's like in Orchard Park, New York in January. Let's start with this. For the Chiefs, do they just write in pen AFC championship game every year, right? I mean, just figure that's part of the schedule.
I don't know if it's pen or if it's a heavy pencil, but it is underlined. It is exclamation point. Like, that is goal number one. They really see it as a two-step process. The AFC championship is how you are in striking distance of a championship, right? So it is a little bit more methodical. And then obviously you don't know what the other side's doing in the NFC. So you're always kind of hunting and pecking there. But the road is pretty familiar to both these teams by this point, right?
Yeah, look, the great teams have done this, right? I think for the Chiefs, this would be 6 in a row. The Patriots did it with 8. It's that mindset. Win the division, be at home, get to the championship game. It's the route to get to the Super Bowl. The Bills have done the one part, winning the division. It's getting past this part, coming into it. And when you look at these teams, I'm thinking to myself, elite quarterback, good skill position players. You're talking about outstanding defenses, and on offense, teams that can run. Am I talking about the Bills there, or am I talking about the Chiefs there? Because it seems like these teams have sort of both evolved into different versions of what they were maybe when they met in the playoffs a couple of years ago.
Yeah, the correct answer is you're talking about both of them. And it is a juxtaposition. Like, the Chiefs have had to go a little bit more run heavy, right? They've had to go more power oriented because of the youth at wide receiver and the problems at wide receiver, right? Whereas I do feel like the Bills have that built in, and they've been able to run consistently over the last couple of years better than the Chiefs. But now maybe that's not what it was. Love what Cook does. Still like him catching out of the backfield as much as I do him running the ball. So it still comes down to the core participants in this ball game have to do what they do, but the periphery, the window dressing is a little bit different.
It certainly is, just the way they get it done. NFL Network was just showing the 13-second game. And in Buffalo, those are dirty words to say. But I was looking back at that game, and I was at the game and just remembering what an incredible display of football that game was. Bills fans can't bring themselves to watch what happened after that last score. But the way those two teams played, that's not the football they're playing right now, but both of these guys individually are capable of doing that at any time, aren't they?
They are, and that's one of the most intriguing parts to this league and these particular guys is that they're friends off the field. Patrick will tell you, if you get them alone in the locker room, there's a competition factor with Josh in particular that is more defined and more guttural than it is for anyone else in the league. Yes, they want to beat the Bengals. We all know everyone likes to beat the Bengals. But Josh versus Pat is always something that is, hey, he's a great runner, but, if I get loose, I could rip off a 30-yard run too, right?
Yeah, there's no question. They both have those individual skills that, just make you say, wow. I mean, both of them, and they can do it in different ways. They both have elite skills. I want to talk about Patrick Mahomes, who he is, the Chiefs, who they are in the big picture, and then maybe who they are now. And the reason I bring that up is, look, it's a playoff game. It's Patrick Mahomes. It's Andy Reid. Like, it's hard to pick or think that team won't win or can't win because we have seen them do it so many times. But this team is a little different, right? I mean, they used to be guaranteed 30 points. Just you got to hope to slow them down at some point. Is there concern in Kansas City that this offense just isn't what it needs to be to whether win this week and win the next week and then win the week after that? Or do you think all around they just make up for it with defense in every other part of their game?
There's concern, there's heartbreak, there's paranoia. There's all kinds of it, right? But the thing that everybody keeps forgetting is, yes, the offense used to be here and it's fallen off a little bit. Well, the defense has done the opposite.
Yeah.
And this is still a team game, especially this time of year. And so, yes, while the offense is not what it's used to, it's a paltry 24 points a game if you average it out over the season. Quite frankly, it hasn't been churning out that much recently. But the defense is buckling down even more. So the strengths are pushing back on each other to give you a 60-minute version of a game that makes it harder for the opponent as well. So overall, I still feel like as close as these two teams are, it's still a very, very winnable game for each of them. And I expect it to be another wire burner.
Yeah, it just is. When you look at the Chiefs this year, there are some things that, look, from the Buffalo side, looking at them, it was... I mean, they are the mountain. They're still the mountain. Josh talked about it now. But in the past, this is why I say, like, when I think of Mahomes, I just think he wins. He just always wins. When I think of the Chiefs, they're in the championship. They're in the Super Bowl. All these things, like I said, the Bills haven't gotten to. But when I think of Andy Reid, I say, well, he doesn't lose coming out of a bye, and he lost coming out of a bye. When I think of the Chiefs, I say they don't lose back-to-back games, and they lose back-to-back games. When I think of them rarely having stretches where the offense isn't very, very good, they've had them this year. And it makes me feel like while the defense is really good, they've lost a little bit of that where they scare you to death. Is that fair?
Yeah. I see it kind of like this. And this is not to be condescending to Bills or Bills fans, but they've kind of been the little brother to this point, right?
Oh, no,
well, guess what?
Right. Yeah.
Your little brother just hit a growth spurt, and all of a sudden he's got 10 pounds on you. That's kind of what it feels like, right?
Yeah.
But I will say this too, that there is a back and forth, and as good as that has gone, the other thing that we've noticed this season, everything you said is correct, but in addition, it's been at home. You don't see them lose at home, and they've done that this season, but they've been stronger when they're more focused and honestly under pressure and surrounded on the road. So I know this is a big deal to host the Chiefs this season for the Bills and the stadium and everybody involved, but that's actually a plus for the Chiefs this time around as well.
Yeah, I mean, the Bills are pretty comfortable playing in Kansas City, which is kind of wild. I mean, they've won there in the regular season. Obviously, they went toe-to-toe with them. You know, when they lost that first AFC Championship game, I think I was a little bit happy to be there, and there was no question Kansas City was the better team. Since then, when they've played, again, the Bills have gotten them in the regular season, couldn't get it done at the biggest spot. But the other thing I've noticed about the Chiefs is, and again, this is over an entire season, when they played the playoff teams, they lost, except for the Dolphins. They took care of them twice, just like the Bills did. They have, normally, they go against the best, they win. This is this is the way I've looked at it with this team. When they've played the better teams, they always found a way. Sort of the Patriots, and the Bills lived that forever too. This year when they lost, who'd they lose to? They lost to the Lions as the beginning of the year. They lost to Philly. They lost games against the other playoff teams. And they beat Miami twice for their playoff wins. Are they back after that Miami win? Because I heard a lot of that, that they looked more like themselves. The offense got some stuff together. The defense was dominant. They beat a good, albeit not great team that the Bills had just beaten. Is there a level of thinking that it hasn't been what they wanted, but they're getting it back right now?
Getting, not gotten. It's not there yet. But, they woke up this morning and the hangover's mostly gone and their head's starting to clear and they're a little bit more confident. And I think that's the big thing. Well, we haven't talked about through most of the season just how young this team is. The secondary, super young. We're talking about the guy who leads this secondary is about to get his second contract in this league. That's how young they are. on the wide receiver position in particular, the thing that has been the explosive impetus of this offense, they're super young there. And the veterans they do have are now not stalwarts from their previous stops in the league. They are journeymen. And that's been the difference. So, yes, it's taken a very long time for those of us that cover the team as well to get to this point where you feel like, yeah, okay, maybe we can see a glimpse of what they were, but it continues to build. And the last month has really been on an upward trend.
How good is Travis Kelce right now?
It's about 82%.
That's a good number. It's still a good number. 82% of Travis Kelce is a good number. Last week, in a few of the drops, I mean, we have seen at least cracks. Like when the Bills have looked at this team, they could do nothing with Tyreek. You know, they just couldn't do anything with Tyreek. And then you had Kelce crushing them, you know, even the touchdown, obviously, to win the playoff game. And now you see him being at least mortal on the field. That's fair, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with that 100%.
Yeah. And the Bills have done a pretty good job on receivers. The guy I think that's a key to this game, and I don't know if you would agree, obviously it's always Mahomes, is Pacheco. I mean, he didn't play in the first game. He runs so hard. We saw him, everybody saw him in the Super Bowl last year. How important is it for them to have him back for Sunday?
It is bottom line. It's foundational at this point. And, this is something that for someone like me, who's been covering this team for, more than a decade and had to watch this air raid stuff forever, I'm a little happy this time around that it's coming down to running the ball hard and playing good defense. Like, hey, we're a throwback. It's 85 again or something. But it comes down to he is a cog. You have Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who's actually, I think, with the competition and the onset of Pacheco, has learned to run harder in this offense this season as the two-back, the three-back at times. And you don't have Jerick McKinnon, which is the X factor. The best pass catcher on this team in the running back position is not available for the rest of the season. So that is the thing, and it's had to shift a little bit. And Andy's had to be more concentrated on get the ball to Pacheco, give him some zone, inside, outside, give him some gap, get guys in front of him, some pulling guards, and let him do what he does. And so far, to this point, it has worked really well. Now, Ed Oliver might have something to say about that, so we're going to have to find out the hard way.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting what the Bills have. If somehow Terrell Bernard, as we're recording this on Friday, has not been ruled out of the game, which is incredible at the game when he got carted off. I don't know if he's going to play. That would be a massive boost for the Bills because that kid has been really, really good. But you mentioned the pass catching. The Bills struggle. They struggle somewhat against the run. They struggle defending screens. They just have those little dump-off screens, whether they're using Rice and whoever they decide to use in that case. And not having McKinnon, I think, is a big deal there. The other place I've seen the Chiefs struggle, certainly it seems like numbers-wise, and then watching them the other night is such a surprise, is the red zone. What's going on in the red zone?
It's this finding yourself in this newfangled, we can't get down the field and have the explosives. Yeah. Let's be real. There's so many touchdowns in the last few seasons that have been 30, 40, 50 yarders. You didn't have to worry about it. The emphasis didn't have to be there. Now it's been an exploration of how can you run tight and low? How can you get 3rd and 1 done? And they've had more success as the season's gone on, but it's certainly not a done deal. There's a little bit in the play calling background, whether it's Matt Nagy's influence or just Andy's tendencies to go with the misdirection over the just straight ahead basic power the guy off the line and get it done. So the underhand tosses behind the line of scrimmage, the jet sweeps, those have been in the offense too much to this point, and they're starting to just simplify starting in December. If they can stay on that track, they're going to be in good shape. If they can't, they're going to be a lot of trouble.
When I think of Josh Allen going against Steve Spagnuolo in this defense, the first guy I think about is McDuffie. I think that guy is an absolute weapon on defense. For people that don't watch them week in, week out, tell us about the things they do with this guy.
There really isn't anything they don't do. They'll line him up as a linebacker. They'll put him on the end of the line of scrimmage and actually rush him as an overhang pass rusher. They'll give it away, and sometimes they'll disguise it. He can play zone, he can play man, which is funny because at Washington, he only saw about 18% of his snaps in all of college in man coverage. It's been a process to get him there, but he has responded nearly as good as anyone has with Dave Merritt's tutelage, and obviously under Steve Spagnuolo. It's a very more mellow. He was so good to begin with. It hasn't been a meteoric rise like it was for L'Jarius Sneed. But the DBs in Kansas City are trained up by some elite coaching, and that's really been the difference. And it's allowed L'Jarius Sneed to become the DB that he can be and shutting Tyreek down. Everybody saw the clip of the physicality that he brings. Well, Trent's a different kind of physical. His punch is not as good. He's not like dominating with his press, but he'll get in your hip pocket and you ain't gonna lose him. If you have the speed like Tyreek does to actually run away from him, it's the one advantage you might get. But he'll blitz you, and don't tell the linebackers I told him this, but he's the best off-ball blitzer they have on this team.
And Spagnuolo will send him on any down in any circumstance, right? That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, he is a utility of all utilities. You need something done, he can do it.
Yeah, I mean, because for the Bills, like you'll see, I mean, they do not love James Cook in any sort of pass blocking. That's not what he does. That's not his strength. That's why you'll see Latavius Murray out there. You'll see guys who are more adept at helping. But usually, you're not really as concerned maybe in different times on a corner blitz. To me, when they've been able to do that, that's how you knock the ball out. That's when you surprise Josh Allen when he's not expecting it. I think that's something, when James Cook's in the backfield, I could see the Chiefs in attack mode a little bit there trying to get to Allen.
Yeah, if it's anything longer than 6 yards to go to move the sticks, you're exactly right. And here's the thing that Spag's been doing recently, and it's with another adaptation because Brian Cook has been out. Second year starting free safety. He's been fabulous, got hurt. And at that point, they have Mike Edwards, who came over from the Bucs, and he's been kind of working in. He's been coming on lately as well. But Justin Reed has had to play more in the back than he usually wants to. He wants to be closer to line of the scrimmage, and honestly, I think he's more effective that way. But it's rookie Chamari Connor who's been filling in some as well. And so you have another guy that is an elite blitzer and usually plays nickel corner, and now he's stuck in space. So he's trying to get a jump on the ball as well. And so some of those things, if you get a little bit of pressure, Josh might be in a position to think he knows where the defenders are going to be. And maybe just because they're so raw back there, they may not be in the right spot.
What do you think when the Chiefs think of Josh Allen? I mean, they saw him, in my opinion, and this is 36 years for me covering this league. I've never seen a player play better in a playoff game loss than he did in 2021 in that game. The plays he made, and then, of course, Mahomes comes right back. I mean, it might have been the most exciting game, and I don't think it's hyperbole, maybe the most exciting game in the history of the NFL. If you think about the plays that were made in that game, what's the thought? You've had huge matchups with Burrow, but what do you think it is amongst the Chiefs and maybe even Chiefs fans when they think of Josh Allen? I know he's fallen short twice against the Chiefs, but when they think of him, what do you think they think of?
The majority of the fan base respects him, but sees that there's a gap. I'll tell you, inside the locker room after the last matchup, one of the guys got a question in there, one of the offensive linemen, and that's why it's really telling to me, because the offensive linemen are going to put a lot of thought into this. And the question came around, I don't have the exact wording, but, what would you do? Who would you want if Patrick mysteriously retired next week? And the answer was Josh. If you're going to put somebody else in this offense to help us do what we do, that's who we want.
Yeah, I mean, he's been that good. Now, I will tell you this. I said this is the biggest game in his career. It's interesting. With all Mahomes has done, he's won championships, he's won the MVP, all those things. But for Josh Allen, I think for he and Sean McDermott going up against Andy Reid, it's the biggest game in their careers. They've gotten him at home. And I know we say it's not a bigger deal, but it's that next evolution and I don't even think there's a rivalry yet. I don't think it's a rivalry until you beat them in the playoffs. But it can become one on Sunday. That pressure / motivation, where do you think it fits for Josh Allen in this game?
I generally feel that in that kind of thing, not just like the pressure of a game or a comeback, but like you said, for legacy, for this series, for what the franchise does going forward with Sean and everyone else, I feel like Josh rises to those occasions. And I think he rises when he plays Patrick. And I think that rivalry between the two of them back and forth helps everyone raise their game. The question is, what are the Chiefs going to do to manifest something different for him? They're going to do something and put the mental side on him. We all know what he is as an athlete and as a passer himself. It's about what can they do to do something weird that throws him off. If that happens, I think that's the one weakness that they feel like might separate the two quarterbacks and give them a chance to pull this off.
All right, so that leads me right into my last two things. What's the game plan from your perspective? What is it that wins this game in Buffalo for the Chiefs?
Just simplification and taking care of business. Don't turn the ball over. Don't give them extra possessions. Make sure that you're getting down. And it's weird to say for Mahomes-led offense, just get points. It doesn't have to be a touchdown every time. This year, we're going to take field goals and we're going to call ourselves happy with that. But it is about getting back to basics. Run the ball effectively. Don't get 2-yard TFLs that you then have to throw in obvious situations because Travis isn't running as like he has. Travis has been hurt all season. I don't know if your fan base knows that, but he had a bad hyperextension week 1 and he's really never recovered. And that's part of this whole thing. So don't put it out of pressure on Rashee Rice or on Kadarius Toney if he's able to go, or any of the journeyman wide receivers. Stay in front of the sticks, drive your offense, and let your defense be who they are because they're going to get it done.
Yeah, it's really a change. In the past when it's been like, don't kick a field goal because they're going to score a touchdown. And now it has changed to that point. All right, if you're watching this game, what's the point where you go, what is happening that you go, Chiefs are in trouble on Sunday?
When Dalton Kincaid hits 50 yards in the air, that's going to be a problem. Chiefs linebackers are keyed up for it. So is Justin Reed. But the combination, we know that Dawson Knox has had success against this secondary as well. Like that combination. And then as long as you don't let Cook get the explosives, and I always measure those by 20 pluses. If he gets 18, I'll live with it. I think you can compensate. But those two guys in particular, Diggs is going to do what he does. He's going to get some. L'Jarius is going to get some on him. I like the way Shakir's been playing lately, to tell you the truth. So I do think that's the X factor. I don't know about Gabe. If he's able to go, I still feel like even though as a trio, if they're all on the field, they probably have the advantage over all the Chiefs DBs, but only on the third. The top two guys in McDuffie and Snead, I feel pretty confident about. So it is the secondary pass catchers in particular. And then if you let Josh just run all over you because you're not paying attention or you're calling too much man and turning your back to him, that's going to be probably the keys. Yeah, that's when he takes advantage. So Gabe Davis just a little while ago got ruled out of the game. I don't think they had expected him to play. He has not really been a factor. It's funny for Chiefs fans, that playoff game was obviously incredible for Gabe, but he's not been as much of a factor in the passing game. And Shakir has stepped up. And like you mentioned, Kincaid, and they've gotten Cook had a good game catching the ball against the Chiefs the last time. Last few weeks, that's dropped off a bit. So we'll see if that changes. This is great stuff, Ryan. We really appreciate it. I want you to let everybody know where they can find your stuff, both on this Locked On podcast for the Chiefs and anywhere else on social media. Absolutely. YouTube, any of the audio platforms. I'm on Locked On Chiefs 5 days a week. I'll be on Locked On NFL Draft. I also run rgrfootball.com. That's a YouTube channel as well as a site that really focuses on the Chiefs and the NFL playoffs. And then I have NFL 33 and Rogue Analytics, where we do all the draft work. The Athletic Matrix is part of it. We'll have all the coverage of all that. So, it's a full year thing, and I try to keep up with it as best I can. Well, we certainly like keeping up with the Chiefs, and this is a great way to do it. And look at this. We made it through the entire thing, and I did not name or talk about a certain pop singer who may be making her way into Orchard Park this weekend. Look at that. We made it all the way through. All right, Ryan Tracy, thanks very much. We really do appreciate it, and we're expecting a great game coming up on Sunday. And thanks to all of you for watching. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the Buffalo Plus podcast here on the YouTube channel, brought to you by Connors and Ferris. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you later this week as we continue coverage of the Bills and the Chiefs.
Buffalo Plus, your interactive look at the week in football, brought to you by Connors and Ferris.